Building Blocks, 2025 in Tel Aviv, the future of tech.
Alon Moruch, please come on stage. Tell us, how are we making staking great again?
Hi everyone, my name is Alan. I'm the CEO of SSV Labs, the core team behind the SSV protocol. I want to present to you today both what we're doing, but also talk about something that maybe is not talked about too much, which is how do we make Ethereum competitive again, especially specifically in the worlds of TradFi, Wall Street, and so on and so forth. So SSV is a decentralized staking infrastructure for Ethereum. We've launched about 14 months ago to mainnet, roughly managing 3 million ETH today. Will become the second largest staking protocol in Ethereum, I hope in the next 24 hours. Over 90,000 validators, around 8 to 9% of the entire Ethereum stake. That's a big responsibility, and we've built it on top of distributed validators. The idea that we want to decentralize and enable this great infrastructure to be used across a lot of different developers and a lot of different services to really make a robust validator set for Ethereum. And we couldn't do that without a huge amount of different partners that are amazing, and some of them are sitting here today. Anything from solo stakers all the way to staking pools, restaking pools, institutions, exchanges, and so on and so forth. It was an amazing journey. And throughout this journey, we actually started to see this pattern happening. It used to be the case that crypto companies, and in general, crypto blockchain projects, competed on crypto users. But it's not necessarily the case anymore. There is a new frontier for this type of competition, which is TradFi. TradFi is traditional finances, Wall Street, regular people from around the world buying crypto assets. We heard that from the ETFs that were launched a year or two ago in the US and around the world. But it's becoming a bigger and bigger battleground where a lot of the blockchain projects needs to start competing at. Not just smaller ones, but also the biggest ones, like Ethereum and Bitcoin. And for now, Bitcoin seems to be winning, both in price action and in general, the adoption we saw from TradFi. And the reason why is because Bitcoin has a really solid narrative. The 21 million Bitcoins that will ever be mined are a very strong narrative. Whoever buys one Bitcoin today knows they're buying a part of Bitcoin. And that's a really powerful message. That's why Bitcoin is winning this, at least for now. And the question is, where is Ethereum, right? Ethereum didn't see a great price action. And in general, the sentiment is, the Ethereum blockchain is an amazing technology. A lot of people use it. Not so much the Ethereum token. I just came from the Digital Asset Summit in New York. It was felt there quite significantly. It's obvious that Ethereum has a tech supremacy type of position, right? The technology on Ethereum is amazing. Top minds are working on scalability and other issues on Ethereum. That's not a problem. The problem is, how do we translate that back to Wall Street? Because there is fierce competition there. There are projects like Solana that on the paper, or at least on paper, do the same things that Ethereum does. It's not a solo act anymore. And translating that back to TradFi is very hard. Competitors are doing an excellent work in places like, in areas like business development, PR, and marketing, where Ethereum is kind of lacking. And I think there's another layer to it. Ethereum has a value capturing problem. There's a lot of activity on Ethereum, but not enough of that trickles down back to ETH holders. And so that's why we see this dichotomy between Ethereum, the blockchain, and Ethereum, the token, and they're looked at differently. And that's quite interesting. But there is, with any other challenge, there's a lot of opportunities here. And actually, the opportunities lie in one of the biggest assets Ethereum, I think, has today, which is its validator set. Ethereum staking started around 4 years ago. At least initially was really focused on securing DL1, securing Ethereum. But actually, it evolved since then. Almost as soon as that happened back in 2020, we saw MEV came along. MEV is just a type of service, a transaction ordering service that validators choose to opt into. It's completely optional. It's not encoded within the core of Ethereum. It's a type of service that validators choose to do. a couple of years went by and we started to see things like shared security. Shared security is another type of an opt-in service. At least it's an original form, the idea that we can extend what validators do, secure other protocols, and those validators can earn extra rewards. And now we're seeing a new incarnation of that with validator commitments. Anyone in the know, pre-confirmations, base sequencing, this category of new technology. The cool thing about it is there is a trend here. The trend is that validators are starting to do more and earn more, which means that more value is captured for ETH holders. This whole thing can be framed with what I like to call staking 2.0. So if staking 1.0 is the idea that validators do one thing, very rudimentary thing, secure the L1 Ethereum itself, and the type of rewards are pretty much commoditized. Everyone earns pretty much the same. Staking 2.0 is this blue ocean marketplace where validators can actually opt in to do more things and earn more rewards, building endless amount of strategies to maximize the amount of rewards they get depending on their type of activity. And that's really, really cool. That's something that can capture a lot of value back to validators, and validators are just made out of Ethereum holders. This whole thing is based on a thing called based applications. It's a type of a decentralized application which is based on the L1 validators, drawing functionality and security directly from L1 validators. Think about smart contracts as being a decentralized app within the blockchain. Based applications are decentralized applications outside of the blockchain, but managed and secured by multiple entities. This is how roughly it works. So a validator has two sides to it. It has the validation key, which is the actual representation of the validator on chain. And it has the capital behind it, which when the validator exits, the capital goes to there, or essentially the ETH. By using the actual validator entity, the validation key, we can give way to a lot of different types of use cases. Oracles, bridges, data availability layers, ZK proofs, AI agents, and so on and so forth. All of them secured by the L1 validators, as close as possible to the security of the actual L1 they actually service and work on. And this changes fundamentally the economics of staking, because staking 1.0, the more validators there are, the lower the returns are, or the rewards are for staking, and it's commoditized. Everyone earns the same. But here we have this endless amount of opportunity, endless blue ocean type of marketplace where validators can opt in, create strategies, and earn much more rewards than staking is. And so it changes completely the economics of staking. It brings back value to ETH holders in a way that was not available right now. And that's really, really cool. And if it sounds similar to restaking, in some way it is. But fundamentally, it uses a completely different infrastructure. First off, if this works, and we can make it work, why limit ourselves to one blockchain? It needs to be a multi-blockchain type of protocol. And that's what SSV intends to do. We want to bring that value. Just imagine the power of multiple blockchain validators, Solana and Ethereum validators, for the first time in history, working together to secure a based app, right? A lot of different properties, and the intersection between them provides probably the best security in the world, and the most scalable and cheap. Second, contrary to kind of common belief, restaking is quite limiting because it uses capital. Capital is very expensive and very limited. And so the amount of scale you can provide to those applications that seek that security is limited. And ultimately, based applications simply use less capital, which makes it significantly more affordable. So ultimately, we're talking about something which is multi-blockchain, super scalable, and super affordable, which are the ingredients for making it huge and widespread. This whole thing also makes it super aligned with Ethereum and other blockchains. If Ethereum has that problem of value capturing, and we can provide that value by extending what validators can do, we're aligned because we're making one of the biggest assets Ethereum has stronger, more robust, and potentially actually bring much more solo stakers into the mix because they can earn now much more and make, again, Ethereum much more robust. If I need to kind of paint a picture, the future of Ethereum from the tech side is pretty solid. We have amazing technologists working on very innovative things. But if the token is suffering and it's not very competitive, not against Bitcoin and not against other blockchains, we need a new narrative. And that narrative, in my opinion, is one of value capturing. Ethereum has the most usage, the most use cases, and the most developers. And so we need to find a way to trickle that value down to ETH holders. And the way to do that is by using the validator set of Ethereum. It's the biggest asset we have. The state of Ethereum is quite literally in their hands. And so for me, staking 2.0 is that way to go. I would also put it as a side note, other than staking 2.0, the idea that validators can extend their functionality, I think it's super important to focus on synchronous composability. The idea that we can take a bunch of different L2s, compose them together in single atomic transactions, and enable that to be a beautiful user experience with under 100 millisecond block transaction confirmations. Synchronous composability and staking 2.0 are the way, in my opinion, for a better Ethereum and most importantly, a competitive one in this new battleground, which is TradFi. Thank you.
Wait. At this mic, perfect. Don't go anywhere, Alon. All right. Any questions to Alon, the person that's chasing staking globally? Can I? Oh, Omar, there you go. Yes, tell us what you're thinking.
So you have all that computer power. You have all the users. Everything is wonderful. The only thing that I'm lacking is what's going on with the foundation.
Ethereum Foundation.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting question. So the Ethereum Foundation had a leadership change just recently. And I'm under the impression that they got it. They understand that Ethereum is not just technology anymore, and there is competition. We still need to see what they're going to do. I personally expressing exactly those thoughts to them as well. I think they need to change the way they approach Ethereum as a narrative. Bitcoin has a very strong narrative, even though it's 15 or 12 years old, right? So the narrative is very important. And communicating super complicated things to TradFi users, it just doesn't work. If you start to try to explain why the way to go in terms of scale is roll-ups versus a unified structure like Solana, you lose them. That's it. But if you explain to them, if you're holding Ethereum, all of that value, everything that happens on Ethereum, which is very material, everyone knows Ethereum has the most value, goes back to you as an Ethereum holder, it's a done deal. It's much easier in terms of narrative. So I do think they are changing their ways. We'll have to see if that actually happens. But it's very disconcerting to see on panels Solana and other blockchain representatives and no one from Ethereum.
Quick follow-up, Omar.
So quick follow-up. So what are the quick steps that they need to do in order to implement what you said?
I think they need to work as a business much more. I mean, there is the side of, CryptoPunks, everything is decentralized, hardcore, that's amazing. But there has to be that guy, which is business-oriented, who has to be on those conferences, in those panels, explaining why Ethereum is amazing. And if you don't explain to TradFi, that's why I'm saying it's a very different battleground.
Are you saying singing in Paris Blockchain Week is not driving Ethereum?
No, I'm saying that TradFi is not there. Maybe it potentially will be more and more, but I think that, I just got back from New York. It's a very different conversation. Very different than DevCon, and nobody cares there about the Beam chain. And so, I mean, again, just make the comparison. You're like Android and iPhone and so on. Just imagine having a conversation with Linus, the guy who invented Linux, talking about the next feature for its kernel. That doesn't sell Androids, right? So we need to start selling Androids and still have the people working on the kernel, which is Ethereum, the protocol.
Matt, you're on that side of the world. Do you agree with that? Is that what's lacking Ethereum right now?
Yeah, I think Alon is in exactly the right spot. I think it is that ability to translate the technology into the business problems that we're solving. And when you go into a big bank, you will talk to the technology folks. You will not talk to the head of a trading desk. You won't talk to folks in investment banking. You won't talk to the folks that are actually going to cut the check.
Thank you. Any other questions to Alon before we wrap it up? All right. Thank you for making staking and Ethereum great again.
Building blocks, 2025 in Tel Aviv.